that's a new one. I haven't been through that exit before. Now I found a new tunnel. That's nasty. Oh my god. I've never been through here before at all, actually. Where the... It's so funny. I work in that building right over there on the right, and I've never been through here before. Annoying, the belt started squealing a little bit. Oh, stingray. The belt started squealing a little bit again, so I gotta tighten it. I don't know, something to do with the weather change, you know, like hot, cold, kind of messing with the belts a little bit, but a little tighten should take care of it. Guys, so I just finished filming the video for the walk around on my car, so if you haven't already checked that out, make sure you guys check that out, and just to get an understanding of like what exactly is done on my car. So this video is going to be essentially about what it takes to boost the G35 or 350Z and these platforms in general, HR and even VHR I'll talk about, and just like what you need to get in order to make sure you build like a proper safe car that runs nice, and you know, it's like fun. That's the most biggest factor, right? The fun of the car. So here it goes. So if you have a G35 or 350Z and you're running a DE, as most of you may know, most of the people won't really push it past like 400 wheel, because most of them end up popping like after that. I know, like I've seen like the RZG guys make around like, you know, 600 on like one of their stock block DEs, and like, yo, that's great and all, but if that thing's like racing on the road, and like that's when I'd like to see how it runs, right? So as far as right now, there's like only very limited amount of people pushing like more than 500 wheel on a stock block DE. So you're really pushing like, you know, more or less the limits of this thing. So obviously if you want to make like 600, 700, you got to obviously build the motor, right? So that's your kind of main thing with these cars. With the HR VHR, I've seen guys push over 500 wheel on stock block, no problem. So I can guarantee you that you can do that easily. A couple of my buddies are already at 600 wheel and the cars are running absolutely beautiful. So I think that that's, if you're kind of on the fence, I would honestly recommend just buying an HR VHR and boosting the shit out of it, because that's going to be a great car and cheaper to set up initially and even boost it, right? Obviously you can build the motor on this and make it crazier, and I gotta tell you, a built motor and a stock block are two completely, even if you run the same power, like I'm telling you, like the way a 600 wheel car drives and the way like these built motor cars drive, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just the built motor cars feel way crazy. I don't know if it's like cams or what, but something gives it that extra edge and that torque that comes out of nowhere. So I do love that about the built motor setup. So if you're thinking of doing this, honestly, in my opinion, I spent a shit ton of money doing this, and I can tell you it was definitely worth it. Like this car rips. So I can tell you, go for it. It's friggin' worth it, as long as it runs reliably. So here's the stuff you gotta do. So at the very bare minimum, if you want to run a DE past like 500-600 horsepower, you're gonna have to get forged internals at the very least. Since the motor's already open at that point, I'd recommend just getting the cams and doing it one time, because see, the stock VQ head flows around like 270 CFM of air, and just to give you an idea, the 2J, which everyone goes crazy about, only flows like low 200s, right? So the VQ can actually breathe a lot more freely, especially up top, compared to the 2J. So it's actually recommended to go for the cams and, you know, just help that out top end. Like a lot of the, and if you look at the 2J, just to compare, 2J is a crazy motor. Like stock internals makes insane power and very reliable, runs very reliable. But if you look at the actual power band, I favor the VQ. You can make torque a lot earlier. You can make a much broader power band on the VQ than you can on the 2J. In my opinion, sometimes I see 2J dyno graphs and they look a lot more like dyno queens, you know, just like making a ton of power up top, turbo lag, like. So I do think that the VQs have a lot more potential in terms of a broader power band, right? So that's one thing. Now, in terms of building the VQ, it's not that expensive if you reuse components, but if you decide to do what I did and go for like all new shit, like, you know, new water pump, new oil pump, new thermostat, new timing chain guides, like all that shit I did all brand new. Even the oil pump, we have a upgraded ring gear in it, a billet ring gear, so that this thing can rev to like 8,000 RPM and provide proper oil pressure throughout the RPM range, right? So just to make sure you guys are not getting bored, I'll set you guys up here a little bit. Gets a red line so goddamn quick. I forget sometimes that I switch from this to my Beamer, and the Beamer's like a lot slower and has like way more RPM to play with. This is just like goes to red line right away. But again, red line in this car on the baseline tune right now is only 6K, so it's definitely gonna need to be turned up. Once we go into the power tune, we'll be having something like a 7,500 plus RPM red line, so then you can actually enjoy each gear, rev it out, and stay in boost. It's gonna be a lot more fun when we get to that point. So that's anyways, back to the discussion. So if you're on the DE platform, you know, the motor ended up costing me in Canadian dollars almost about $10,000, to be honest with you, right? So in the States, you can probably do it for like between 5 and 10K, sorry, 5 and 8K even, you know, because you don't get raped on the conversion and shipping and duties and all that shit. So that's the one thing about you know, buying stuff in America. I pretty much picked up all the Eternals from Z1 Motorsports, so that was pretty wicked. They got everything shipped over really quickly. And Gord Bush Performance in Toronto here assembled the motor, and then Dynamo Motorsports Tuning tuned it. So that's pretty much like the main shops that were involved. And also I gotta give a shout out to my boy Tan at DC Auto here in Brampton, who was key in getting me those little crucial things. Like we needed like this little piece, and he had like a VQ sitting there at the side in his shop, and he had the part I needed. So like, you know, he came clutch with regards to that. So yeah, that's the built motor is pretty much the main thing. Then next thing you're gonna need is a turbo kit. And the boosted performance kit, I think, don't quote me on this, but Sasha sells the boosted performance kits for around, I think, 8 grand US, right? So obviously Canadian, all that ends up being like almost like 11 grand, right? All in for the kit. And then the fuel system ran me about like 2K ish, maybe a little bit more. I had all the lines custom built. I actually built the lines myself with the help of a couple of my buddies. So, 1 second. I love that. Oh my god. See, if you can get it, like if you can get it to just let off a little bit before redline and hover the RPM right before redline, the car just goes into this beautiful floating, and you just kind of guide it. Oh man, that shit's just heaven. I gotta tell you, when it comes to rear wheel drive and all wheel drive cars, I will choose rear wheel drive. I don't give a shit if I get gapped. I'm choosing rear wheel drive, man. That floating feeling you get is just, oh man, heaven. I know you can get an all-wheel drive car to do that too with a rear bias, but yo, I'm just saying, this shit's fucking lovely. Anyway, so back to what I was talking about. So with the DE, then you need your fuel system as well, right? You're gonna need at the very least a high flow fuel pump, at least around like 340 liters per hour, as well as some good injectors, like 700cc to 1300cc would be ideal. I did, as you can see in the previous video, I did the whole twin pump tank setup in the back, so we can run E85 and get like really good fuel pressure flowing for the upper RPMs when we're trying to make like, you know, 600 to 700 horsepower. So my ideal scenario would be to have this car between 7 and 750 wheel on pump gas. That would be amazing. I've seen it being done before. We just gotta hope that this thing can do it. But realistically, the realistic goal is around 680 wheel horsepower on pump gas. When we go into E85, hopefully we can see like upwards of 750 plus. That's the goals, right? So even at this power level, guys, I gotta tell you, at 600, it's a shit ton of fun. Like, I can't see why anyone would need more power than this to have fun. I gotta give a shout out to, like, you know, Fresh Kicks. He's running like, you know, 800 wheel on his 350Z, and like I know most of you guys already follow him, so big shout out to him. If you don't have him, make sure you guys check his videos out. Absolutely nuts. And he's kind of one of the biggest inspirations to do this, right? And it's quite hilarious because, like, back when he was running just his NA G35, when it was blue, he just had bolt-ons, he used to like message me and comment on my shit, you know, and just to see him excel in the way that he has, it's absolutely amazing. So, you know, that's kind of goals to me now. So big shout out to him. And yeah, so he went with, you know, HRVHR platform, so that was good on his part. He did the whole thing, supercharged, he tried it, you know, it didn't work out. He went turbo, then built motor and everything. So that was when I realized, okay, yo, you know what, the VQ can actually hold it down. If you build it right, it can do it. So I figured, why get like a 335i and like, you know, have like suicidal thoughts about why I own this fucking thing. Top playing, dog, don't get cheesy. But yeah, for me, man, the G35, yo, it's home, dog. Like, you know, I've owned it for so many years. I learned how to drive like manual in it. I learned how to, you know, send gears in it. Like I just couldn't let it go, and I had to keep it. I had to full send on it, and here it is, right? So all I want to do now is just race people. It's so tempting. But yeah, so if you want to go the cheaper route, guys, just trade your car into a VHR platform and boost that. I promise you it will be cheaper. But if you want some ratchet ass shit, build the DE. I promise you it's friggin' sick. And hey, if you build the HRVHR, like, yo, you're doing like 800 to 1,000 wheel, no problem, right? But at the end of the day, like, it's gonna cost you a lot more money to get that car, build it, you know, do the turbo kit. Like, just to tell you, so if you've been adding up along with me as I've been going, you know, the motor 10K, the turbo kit 11K, we're already at 22 grand, right? And you gotta ask yourself that question, like, is it worth spending that much on a, you know, old ass car? And that's not even the half of it, right? Like, I also had to do all the miscellaneous shit. Like I told you, fuel system, right? We had to get the fuel system, we had to get like the diff, like all that shit. So again, to make the power, you don't have to do that crazy fuel system or the diff I have, right? So you can save yourself like 3 Gs at least, like just right there, right? And you know, you could go with the what's that? And I gotta tell you, like, I did the HR headers, I did the HR hot side piping just to get this VQ note. I noticed a lot of guys who run like these, you know, rear mount or front mount or whatever setups, they don't get this sound somehow. In my opinion, it's because they're using the DE headers and they're using the piping that they got with the turbo kit, which is not a equal length piping. That's how you end up getting that like weird tone that you saw on my buddy Mike's G35 on my videos, as well as like the RZG cars. No offense, bro, but like, I'm not a fan of the sound they make. But yeah, it's the equal length piping, in my opinion, that kind of makes this VQ tone come back, and you get that like raw sound to it. You don't get that like sound, like that buzzing ass sound you get, that kind of raspy tone from the other turbo G35s. I gotta chill the fuck out around here before some cops roll up on me. I know my boys are chilling here in the parking lot, so we'll give them a little earful as we pass by. ECU. So you can actually do this on like an up-rev setup, no problem. But I currently have the ECU Tech system right there. So, and we're switching soon to a Link ECU, just because I don't want that clutter shit down there, and I don't want to try to pack it up. And that system's a little older, so it doesn't do E85, and it doesn't even run my Haltech gauge here. So that's why we're switching to the Link ECU, and it'll be tucked in, replacing the stock ECU position, and that'll be absolutely perfect. Let's get a little video here. So yeah, basically back to what I was talking about. We just had the cruise and everything, so just continuing the last video. So essentially, if you're looking to boost the DE, a couple things you're going to need. First of all is the forged internals from Z1 Motorsports. There's a whole engine rebuild kit package you can get. I think it's like $1,800 or something like that. And just grab that. That's like the main thing. And then you can reuse your old timing equipment and all that, or you can just get all new shit. It's better just to grab all new shit so everything's like fresh, right? Oil pump, it is recommended. You can get the rev up oil pump, or you can upgrade to like the billet gear that I got. and the billet gear basically is going to make sure that you can rev up to the higher RPM and make sure the oil pressure is good throughout the rev band. Other than that, you can pretty much run it on a stock head if you really want to, but again, I would recommend getting cams. I got the JWT C8 272 duration cams, so those are the ones in mine. And then we also got BC springs and retainers as well, just to make sure everything's, you know, able to keep up with the RPM and the valve speed. So those are like the main things about the engine. Definitely do a catch can with boost. You're gonna have a lot of pressure in the head, so you're gonna want to get a proper catch can set up, and that way you can make sure you ventilate that crankcase pressure. Other than that, again, the diff is something you can kind of pass on, but if you really want to put that power down to the road, you really want to have a proper LSD in the back. But I don't know how bad this would be without the LSD, so you know, you can let me know on that, how well your car puts down power after 600 wheel without an LSD. You're gonna want obviously your gauges and setups. The most important things I would recommend are gonna be like your oil pressure gauge. Also, if you can, AFR definitely, but also if you can, try to get oil temp and coolant temp, because chances are you're gonna be doing pulls back to back, and you're never gonna really know when your coolant temp is too high or you're pushing your oil temps. And it's good to have that just so you can kind of take it easy on a couple pulls, let the engine cool down a little bit, let the coolant temps come down, let your intake air temperatures cool down, right, before you keep sending pulls back to back. Usually if you're sending hot pulls back to back, that's going to be the time you end up blowing your head gasket. So that's one thing. Yeah, CD009 tranny is definitely another important feature. Now when it comes to the actual turbo kits, you have quite a few options out there, but Boosted Performance would probably be the most recommended kit I have. Now, if you're trying to exceed 800 wheel, after seeing what Fresh Kicks went through with his setup, looks like the kind of ceiling of that Boosted Performance kit is around 800 wheel. So if you're trying to go more than that, then you're gonna have to get a different setup. But up until 800 wheel, I think the Boosted Performance kit's absolutely perfect. It is stupid easy to install. It's stupid easy to do work on it, right? Because the turbo is just underneath the car. It's right there. Whenever you need to switch something out, it's all right there. If you end up running, and you can choose different turbo options. So a lot of people end up running the Coupe setup, and with that, it's completely oilless. So all you need to do is provide coolant to it, and that's about it. And the turbo is good to go. With mine's the other way around actually. Mine doesn't use coolant. It's pretty much air cooled, but it does take oil. So we had to tap a line off of the engine and provide the coolant line to the turbo. And then as the oil comes out of the turbo, it goes into a oil pump, which pumps it back into the oil pan. So that oil pump, by the way, and the fittings to feed the turbo all come with the Boosted Performance turbo kit. So there was like, the good thing about buying a new turbo kit like that was there was very little bit involved in like extra shit I needed to get, right? So like one thing with the Supercharging kit was like it was used, you know, there was like all kinds of missing shit, like we had to find it here and there to get it going. That was kind of a headache, but definitely with the, you know, brand new kit, everything just kind of comes together, hooks up, good to go. What else can I see you needing? Yeah, just make sure you got proper fueling, right? Like if you want to make big power, you need big fuel. That's the biggest thing. So you need to get your big injectors, big fuel pump. I would say at least a minimum of like a 340, or even like if a 450, if you can refit it in there, in the tank for a pump. And then your injectors, you know, at least minimum 750 cc to 1000 plus if you're gonna want to make the bigger power. I would say just go for like at least 1300. And pump setup, I have basically a 325 in the tank in the back, and then I have a two 450s in the surge tank. So that's the kind of elaborate setup you're gonna want to run if you want to push it to like, you know, 600, 700 horsepower. 1 second, we gotta get a video here. Definitely get some spinning. I'm getting a little bit more confident with the wheel spin, that's for sure. Like I'm starting to see how it floats and like kind of just playing with it at that limit before it starts hitting rev limiter. So I'm definitely getting better at driving the car. It's definitely a huge learning curve. Like as you know, a lot of you guys are probably NA like I was, and like obviously even that takes a little bit of a, you know, learning to get once it starts sliding around and shit. but once it gets to like a supercharged level 400 wheel, and then once you get to like 600 wheel, it's a big difference in the amount that it starts really sliding around on you. And obviously the biggest thing is tires, so it's not gonna be that bad once we have like our compounds on it. See that? And once the tires are warm, it hooks up really nice. Even that, I still had to kind of like feed into it a little bit. I couldn't just like mat the throttle, because when you mat the throttle, what the fuck was that? That was your brakes, dog, not mine. Yeah, so far guys, we just did a whole bunch of pulls today. I've been beating on it a lot actually, and the car's been running like, yo, I don't got wood trim and shit, but you know, knock on plastic, the car's running quite nice. I haven't had any major issues. I just put the fuse back in, so man's got a horn now. One thing at a time. I know you guys want me to fix the steering wheel. It'll get done, guys, don't worry. It's not a live or die thing right now for me. Like, car's driving straight. Look, no hands, ma. All right, so don't worry about it, it'll get done. As long as the car's running, that's all I give a shit about right now. I'll take it into the alignment shop. Now the weather's nice, I can actually take the car out and stuff, so you know, we'll definitely get it situated. But yeah, so that's it for this video. If you guys have any questions, you know, give me a shout in the comment section below, and I'll definitely happy to answer your questions. And see you guys next time.